Broad topics, broad minds, broad hosts, but not just for broads. This is Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to Broadscast.
Hi.
Hi, everybody. Happy holiday season.
Oh,
Wow, that was quite a...
you know what? I'm not there.
No?
No.
Well, maybe after the show you will be. So I'm excited for the holidays.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't started shopping because I like to wait to the last minute.
I don't even know when Hanukkah is this year.
It's Christmas Eve.
Oh, it is?
24th.
Oh,
Yeah.
sweet.
It's all together. So, but I have some surprises for you.
Oh, I love a surprise.
I'm pulling out a box right now for
Oh.
those of you who can't see.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
And
bubble
it's
wrap.
Bubble. Why?
You're going to put that, you're going to snap that?
It
You
won't
gotta
snap.
Pop it. That's like just plastic. Now you're just
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it won't even pop.
wah, wah.
So our friends at Uncommon Goods sent us some gifts.
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday to me. Oh.
So a basil herb kit, which remember, you go to our website, broadscast.com. We have a gift guide there, and you can get all of these gifts at Uncommon Goods as well. And so this is a basil herb kit. And so you can, like, it's in a little mason jar.
Oh.
And you could just kind of keep it in your
What do I
kitchen.
do with this? Oh, it's a self-watering planter. Oh,
Yeah, I'm
right
keeping
on.
that.
Yeah, you can keep that. Oh, remember like when we were younger, you'd put like a potato in the water? Like you'd stick the toothpicks in it and then you put it in the jar. And
We
then you
didn't
put the
do that. We
potato-
did the bean in like a paper towel and soaked it,
Oh, right. And
and it would sprout.
yeah.
But this is
what
so
reminds me of
cool.
this. Yeah, you put it in the jar and
And so you can, I have a dream that we can like grow herbs in my kitchen on my little, I have
well,
this
it's
like
legal now in California.
in California, not that kind of herbs, but, where I could just snip off like when
That
I'm
would be
making-
my uncommon good. Yeah, I'm here. I'm with you. Yeah.
So,
Snap
which
it.
is exciting.
Snip it. That's
So
pretty.
The next thing you had chosen, I think, as one of your favorites. It's called Letters to My Future Self. Right now, read later, treasure forever.
Oh,
How cute
a
is
paper
that?
time capsule. Yeah,
Wouldn't
you know
that be
what?
cool
I
for
am-
Sam?
I am all about this lately. Not lately, but in general in my life, about writing letters to my old self and my future self.
Really?
Yeah. I
Well,
do
writing
that-
letters to your old self is so very John Bradshaw. Like it's supposed to be very healing.
Well, because it is not a surprise. I do counseling for a living, and when I work with teenagers, we talk about that as a coping mechanism sometimes to write letters to your old self and to your younger self, and then to your future self. Like
Really?
what I wish I would have known, and not as a sign of regret, but as an element of growth. I think there's a lot of insight that comes with that. So this is cool.
I once wrote a letter to the child version of myself.
Yeah.
And I was so much nicer to the child version of myself in a letter than I am to the grown up version of myself in my daily life.
Which is
so it was quite cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why this is cool.
Yeah. And I think that's cool for kids too. Imagine like they look a year or two later. Or as an adult. So,
Right on.
okay, the next one. And again, go to broadscast.com and check out our gift guide because all of these are on there with links on how to buy these. So this one is called My Life So Far, a journal of personal history, unforgettable people, and the details, big or small, that have shaped my life.
Oh.
And it's just a
right
little
on.
journal. Here's the thing. Like, I think journaling is such a great thing.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes we need steps. We need instructions on how to do it.
Right.
Like an open blank page doesn't always get us from point A to point B.
Yeah, so this gives you prompts. The book is broken up into 9 sections, and it gives you prompts at each of those sections to kind of encourage you to.
You could have used this when you were writing your books.
Oh, geez, I could have. Yeah. It's funny when we were talking about Uncommon Goods, and we were talking about, you sent it to me. You were very like secretive, mysterious. I guess I must have been in a very mushy, vulnerable mood because all the things I was like.
But they're beautiful. That's what I
Yeah.
loved about this. Like
Yeah.
these are things, you're talking about the holidays and how you're not ready and this and that. Like it doesn't have to be this huge commercialized like electronics and the best of the best and, like expensive toys. I love these gifts because they're conversation starters.
Right, right.
They kind of encourage families to get to know each other.
And it's really, I use this phrase a lot, it's the gift that keeps on giving, because
Totally.
you have it forever. You know,
Right.
I mean, a friend of mine posted something yesterday about how he transferred all of his old video VHS
Yep.
onto DVDs and gave it to his wife for a Christmas gift. And
That's beautiful.
And she's like, I forgot. Like, and so she's like, this will continue. Like, I will always have this gift. And it was just,
I love that.
we all have those boxes,
Yep.
you know, full of
Yep.
VHS, but like, I like those. I like those gifts that cause you to put some emotion and thought, and that it's something that stays with you. So.
Well, and you know, if you've listened to the show before, you know that my dad passed away in February, and he died of Alzheimer's. And so the last 3 years of his life was like, wow, I have Alzheimer's. I'm completely with it. This is scary. I forget things. He had some personality, you know, you could tell
Right.
some changes. But, you know, 3 years, it like rapidly declined. And
Right.
it just, and I'm not telling this like for the reason other than, you know, getting these stories too. Like, this is such an amazing thing for an
Right.
older person. Like, we had, my siblings and I had this idea of like, oh, let's get him on tape and but we didn't do it.
Right.
You know? And so to have something like this to help bridge that awkward gap
Right.
between wanting to get these things from you know, maybe an older person, a grandparent, a parent.
Right.
You know, it's nice to be able to wrap that up and then to present it in a way where it seems, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not as awkward.
And it's I'm booknoting this to remind me of something offline, because I have a potential guest for us for future, and I'm super excited about it. I just can't. I don't want to go into it now. I just don't want to forget. But you know, it's funny. I gave a book.
Sometimes Kim and I are just having meetings.
I
on
know.
the air.
Sorry, we're having our production meeting. No, it's just reminding me of something. But I gave something similar to this book to my dad a handful of years ago, because I don't know a lot always about like my dad's childhood. He can't
Right.
remember things. I don't really know about certain parts of my childhood, and you know, my brother's gone, and so I don't really have like, I'm going to forget, and I'm not going to have anybody anymore to talk about it. So I asked my dad to like fill out this journal, and it occurred to me that like that's homework for him,
Yes,
you know, and
yes.
it is still blank. And
Yes.
so what I loved about the one from Uncommon Good, that My Life Story, is that it does give you the prompts. And so I really could sit down with my dad and do this together and
Yes.
ask the question, even if we never fill the book out, right? Like it is a guide. It is a tool.
Yep.
So you know, it is, I love what you just said. It's a conversation starter, you know, and it's sometimes hard to think of those things and ask those questions and to not remember them. And especially when you've, you know, with your dad, how hard that is to not have some of those memories, and, you know, cause they
Right,
fade.
right.
And so anyway.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that's interesting that when he did, he was able to actually, like, Alzheimer's sort of gave him the ability to go back there a little bit.
Right.
So I feel like I got in the beginning, you know, some things, but it's hard because, you know, we think we have all the time in the world,
Right.
whether it's with somebody who's older or not. And so what an amazing tool these gifts are,
Right.
you know, to really get to know people while they're here,
Right.
and to keep their memory alive when they're not, you know?
Right.
So thank you, Uncommon Good.
Oh,
Oh, I have one last one.
What is it?
These are called the Boom Boom cards. And so it's leave kindness wherever you go. So I'm going to open this up actually, so I can you hear me opening it up? So it's a little like, what do you call that? Linen pouch.
Uh-huh.
And so inside they have all of these like ways to do good things and like a little note. So, you actually register your deck here. So it's like paying it
so
forward.
like pay it forward. Oh,
You know, it's called the Uprising of Gorilla Goodness.
oh.
How cool is that? And so, let's see.
Okay, but just so when people, if you've never heard of Uncommon Good, it's not all mushy and like.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
no!
there's,
It's
like-
just stuff
it's
that
funny,
you don't
what's-
find elsewhere.
Right, but it's funny when you sent me the link. I was like, "Oh, look at those cool wine glasses! Oh, look at that cool!" I was like, I headed right for the bar
Right?
section, and I'm like, "Girl." So, but there's some really amazing, interesting, unique, thoughtful,
Yeah.
and then also very practical
Totally. I mean, they have like
it's
scarves
really-
and cheese
yeah, it's
blocks
really-
and, wine, as you were saying, like Tabasco sauce and,
Right.
little personalized gifts and stuff like that. And one of the things I like is that they separate it out as well. Like for him, for her, geek gifts or stocking stuffers under $50, stuff like that, so.
I'm surprised that they can get away with the for him and the for her without having the people that don't feel like they qualify under one of those, like being pissed off that they don't have a category.
All right, Kim, you're making something out of nothing here.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying, like, thank gosh. Like, it's just a big...
Yeah, well, anyway. So the Boom Boom cards, they're, so this is what's interesting. So the website tracks, so you can register these cards, right? And then you track and interact. So the website tracks the card so you and everyone else can follow it as it spreads your kindness across the globe.
Oh.
How cool is that? Because you're registering. I'm going to open this with my teeth.
So you give out the card and then the next person's supposed to like say, I got the card.
Well, you pick a card. You
Any
do
card?
the suggested kind act on the Boom Boom card.
Uh-huh.
And now you are an official agent
Ooh,
of
goodness.
altruism.
Oh, that's cool.
So, I'm trying to open the...
Yeah, you are. I'm trying to fill the radio airspace with...
Right?
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. Anyway, we would love to hear from our listeners what kinds of gifts you give during the holidays. If there are traditions that you do in your family, are you big gift givers? Like I have an internal rule that I kind of don't give toys to kids.
No?
No, I have a handful of nieces and nephews, and I normally do puzzles and books and like crafty like things.
Oh, you're one of those?
I am one of those because my son had more toys than he knew what to do with, and he played with the box that it came in.
Of course.
And he, I was the builder, and so and I wanted to encourage his creative type. It doesn't mean his creative side, doesn't mean I don't give toys, but like I'm trying to find more crereative and more I don't know.
Yeah.
Things that are more interactive.
Well, and Uncommon Goods
know.
have stuff over there. So these cards are actually in order, right? Number 1 is buy a stranger a cup of coffee. So you buy this cup of coffee.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you log on, you tell the story, give the card away, and then it tracks it if other people go on there.
Oh. So
Like
after
to
you get
see-
the card, you have to go register that you've received the card?
It's
Right. We could
log
read the
on,
instructions.
register your
Yeah.
card, tell your story with pictures and video. See, here's the thing. I don't necessarily want the credit and all that. I just think that these are a great idea of things to do for
Right.
other people. Like for one day, hold the door open for others every time you have the opportunity, which I already do that.
Right.
For one day when you get a call or text while in the middle of a conversation, ignore it. Finish the conversation first. That's always good. Or write a letter to that teacher or mentor who inspired, motivated, or transformed you.
Yeah.
Thank them for their influence on your life.
Yeah. So here's how I would adjust this for me. I probably wouldn't do the track and interact.
Yeah, no.
Give
I
the
would
card
just follow.
away. Like I just would follow.
I'd follow it and then maybe give the card away to somebody.
or challenge someone on social media. Like there are other ways that
that's
we can
good.
incorporate this.
Maybe we should do this and we'll challenge people to do the same.
Yeah. All right, stay tuned, people. We just
I
made
love that.
We just made a future project. But I think
anyway.
that's part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, not everything has to work exactly. It's the same thing with like some of the other things we talked about. Adjust them for your lifestyle.
Right.
Don't add too much work to your gift because it's just
Yeah.
supposed to be enjoyable. So
Exactly.
Anyway, cool.
It's funny because I always said that too. Like when TV shows I've worked on or whatever, or even this show, like when you want to give something away,
yeah.
and they're like, "Oh, here's the giveaway of," I'm totally blanking now,
Yeah.
but like
You don't want to do much work.
I don't want to force other people to have to do work with the giveaway product. Like it should just make your life better.
Right.
So anyway, so another thing on our gift guide is, and we love this, is a free month. You can give away a free month and free audio download from Audible Trial.
Oh, right.
.com/broadscast.
Right.
So I think that's a great gift. I mean, that is one of those that they're going to have to like, continue or not continue, but that's fine. You can give them the free month and they can determine
Right.
whether it's something that they want to purchase,
Right.
So
Confession, I haven't done it.
what?
Okay.
audibletrial.com/broadscast. Kim.
I know what the website is. I'm just saying I haven't done it yet because you know what? I'm lazy.
Oh, all right. which is weird because it's the easiest thing in the world to do.
I know, but I honestly, it should be I'm just being straight up honest. It's actually, it is perfect for someone like me who doesn't love to read. I don't have time to sit. And so it is actually the perfect, I love to write, but I don't like to read.
Right.
So, anymore. I used to. So.
Well, it's funny because I actually recently interviewed some people. We have a special coming up called So You Want to Be a Podcaster. And I interviewed some people about successful people about podcasting.
Right.
And that'll be on iTunes. So make sure you subscribe to Broadscast on iTunes. You'll automatically get it. But one of them was talking about how she never listens to podcasts.
Right.
And it's exactly the same thing. Like, you're a writer. You don't necessarily read books.
Right.
Just like when I was blogging, had a personal blog, the last thing I wanted to do was read about somebody else's personal
Yeah.
blogging.
I just honestly, we've talked about this. I don't have the attention span.
That's why I love Audible.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's perfect for someone who...
When I cook a nice meal and I'm in the kitchen, I can actually listen.
Can you focus? Do you have to sit? I'm really trying to get myself psyched up for this.
No, I don't. And I actually when I walk the dogs, I like to listen and things like that. Because honestly, I'm more focused listening to it while I'm doing something else than I am if I'm just lying in bed reading a book, because my brain is going.
Okay, so see, so you're making my point. So this is that's why Audible is such. I just haven't done it yet, but that's why it's actually a great idea for people that are busy, that sometimes are multitaskers that need. I struggle because I like the book. I like the pages of a book, but my life does not support that anymore. So, and I don't want to be, I want to be literate, so this is,
I love the idea of sitting on the couch, reading a book. I recently read a very easy breezy book. I just can't,
but there are some books that you don't do it as much anymore, but when you were in the car and you were, when you were commuting so much to work, there are definitely times it is necessary. It keeps your brain working. I mean, it's all those good things. So thank you, Audible, for letting our listeners have a free month. I was listening
to Lovey. Remember Lovey Ajayi? She's taking over the world right now, and continues to take over the world, I should say. And I listened to I'm Judging You. And it was read by her, and she's so damn funny that it was fun to and I go back and listen to chapters over again because it's just really funny. Right. You can literally hear the side eye. Right. So, so audibletrial.com/broadcast. And so head over to broadcast.com for our gift guide. But we also want to know what you have on your gift guide, because I want to know what people are buying, different interesting gifts that they're buying for other people. And then also, one of the things we haven't, our guest is going to be on in just a minute, but I want to know what people's ideas are in tipping. I'm going to have to put that on our Facebook page, because we all know Kim doesn't tip anybody.
No,
I'm sorry, at Christmas time.
Yes, I'm a very good tipper. I'm very gracious. I just don't believe in the extra at the holidays for every single person that I come in contact with.
Right.
That's. My stomach's growling. Excuse me. That was very loud. I am very gracious. I am very incredibly gracious. Always.
But just not during the holidays.
Guys, I don't.
I know, but that's when during the holidays that, I feel like it's crazy. When your kids have multiple teachers now, and I have no idea how much I should be giving, I mean, seriously, in junior high, you don't give those teacher gifts, right? I mean, maybe a gift card so they could buy some supplies.
Nope, I don't do that either.
No. So
I support the school. I'll donate to the school, which then gets. You know what? I can't afford it, and it doesn't mean I'm a Scrooge. It doesn't mean I'm a Grinch. I am very gracious at different times and at different opportunities, but I don't put that extra pressure on myself to give extra money to my hairdresser if I happen to have a appointment during the holidays. It's not any different than September.
So you're not one of those people who avoids getting any sort of upkeep in December, so you don't have to give the holiday tip?
No, because I think it's ridiculous. And I think if there's an expectation, I think that's unfair. No one gives me an extra tip for doing my job. Just because it's the holidays. I mean, it would be great.
Okay, you guys, we really need to we're gonna have to
like.
clip
Do you put money
this
in your
and-
post? I mean, in the grocery store clerk, you get for the
No.
checkout boy. Why not? Those are people doing service during the holidays. The guy that wraps up your groceries, like the car wash attendant.
I'm sorry, but they don't even
do
give
that
bags anymore. So
I'm just saying,
I pretty much bag my own groceries. Let's be honest.
I know, but I just think it could get out of hand. And you know what? I think I'm appreciative and an extra thank you. Like, I don't know. I just don't think we have to keep throwing money. Like, if you're kind all year long, and you do things all year long, and you're that good person,
So there's nobody that you tip extra during the holidays?
No.
All right. You heard it here first.
I don't.
Yeah. I'd like to subscribe to that because I think that it would save me hundreds of dollars,
Yes.
but I just don't know that I can. I mean, I'd give like a $20 gift card to the mail carrier and, I know.
See, for me, we have different mail carriers every day. It's not like the old days
Okay,
where they
can we
come
talk
up to your
right.
door with their mail pouch and they put it in. Like, that's
Yeah.
different. Like, if it was
Well, my mail is actually at the end of the street.
so is mine, and I've been a big bin of 20 other mailboxes.
Yeah,
Like, how am I
yeah.
gonna...
And the funny thing is, like, they don't even wear What happened to did we talk about this before?
Oh, they
What
have
happened to the uniforms? Not mine. She literally, sometimes I'm wearing the same thing as the mail carrier. Like, I will see her in jeans and like a black shirt. And I'm like, wait a second. Is that her? Or is she stealing our mail? Like,
Listen, I guess I want to go back and say this. There is a difference from the way I grew up with how things are now. Like, I don't go to the same grocery store anymore. I go to 10 different grocery stores.
Right.
You know, my mail carrier, I have no idea who they are. Like, the
Right.
UPS, like, everything is it's your customer service people are people in other countries. Like, it's just, it's very different. So
right. The loyalty's not there. So I understand.
Different,
So, all right, we're moving on.
Jeez, my God.
So our guest today, Lisa Guerrero, is an award-winning journalist, actress, and artist. So she's got this cool new book. Have you seen this?
Yeah. Jewelry
for your table.
Jewelry for your table. Yeah,
it's
I love
the coolest thing
that.
ever.
Yeah,
Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, ladies. Nice to be here.
Hi, Lisa. So help us out with this tipping thing. I know. I don't know if you were listening. Do you tip extra at the holidays? For like
I
your
do. I'm normally a really good tipper anyway, and then during the holidays, I do give an extra boost. I think it's the right thing to do. And every time I pass the Salvation Army red kettle, I put money in there. I do that. I'm weak when it comes to the holidays.
Okay, but do you do
my
like
money flies right out of my wallet.
So like the post office, like the postman, the hairdresser, the grocery store, like the dog.
Nobody does the grocery store. Stop saying that.
Well, who is it then? Who else? Who are you giving extra tips to?
Do you give to the mail carrier, Lisa?
Here's what I do. I get gifts. And in fact, this is really funny. I live near one of the C's factories. So it smells like chocolate all over there every time you walk by. So I walk in and I buy like 20 little boxes of chocolates that I give out to people like my gardeners and my mail carrier and people in my life that it would be almost uncomfortable to just say, oh, here's some cash or here's some money. But I give small gifts so that they know that they're appreciated and that I think of them and that what they do is important. And I think just those small gestures mean as much as, an extra $5 on a bill or something. So
okay,
I just think that anything you can do is appropriate.
I could get behind that.
Yeah, I love that.
It's the extra tipping part that like I think that I'm having a problem with. Like a small, but like my gardener, I would totally do it for my gardener because I see him every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I already pay him. So I would totally leave like a little token of something as a thank you because I like to give gifts, but like throwing extra money at people that do the same service for me every month, like I don't know, maybe it's the money part. Now you guys got me all freaked out. Lisa, this is not why we're having you on, but now I'm having like a
so
crisis.
We have to go back. So Lisa, I have to say, we've had a lot of well-rounded women on this show. I have never seen anybody so rounded as you.
Like, does that mean I'm curvy?
I was just going to say, I'm curvy. What does that mean?
No, I mean, between like reporting for Inside Edition and your investigative stuff and, you've like covered events, the Academy Awards, the World Series, NBA. You used to be on the sidelines of football. And my very favorite thing when I don't want to date either one of us, but when I was working back at NBC in promotion, you were the bad girl on Sunset Beach.
Oh my gosh. That was a fun experience. Well, I don't mind saying my age. I talk about it all the time. I'm 52, and I have spent my entire life on camera since I was 15 and a half. I started as a model. Somebody discovered me in high school, so I did modeling and commercials when I was in high school, and earned my SAG card doing a Toyota commercial when I was 16. So since I was 16, I've never not been on camera as part of my job.
Wow.
So I kind of grew up kind of trying out different phases of the business. And, I was convinced when I was younger, I wanted to be an actress. And I pursued it, and I was really lucky to be able to get some really good roles when I was young and kind of really develop a taste for going to a studio every single day, as you do when you're on a soap opera, and learning 20 to 30 lines or 20 to 30 pages a night when you're on a front burner storyline like Francesca was.
Yep.
So when I was able to kind of get a sense of what that job was, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was so much fun. It was an Aaron Spelling show. We had a wonderful cast. I still am best friends with a lot of the women that I worked with on that show, Priscilla Garita and Kat Heskin. So that was just a really meaningful part of my life. But part of me was saying, there's something else I want to do. I enjoy saying somebody else's lines for a living, but I want to do something where I get to have a platform where I get to say what I want to say, right? So I, always loved sports, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna try sportscasting. And at the time, 25 years ago, there were very few women covering sports for a living.
Right.
And I was one of the first women to earn a contract as a sportscaster full time in Los Angeles. Wow. So most of the time I was the only woman in the locker room at a Dodgers game or at a Chargers game or at a Lakers game. And I enjoyed sports. I was raised by a single dad who loved sports, so I learned the language of sports early on. And I have a passion still to this day for sports. And I became a sportscaster for 10 years, and that culminated in me doing sidelines for Monday Night Football.
Right.
So that was a wonderful kind of segment of my career, but still there was that voice in my head saying, this isn't it. This isn't all there is. There's something more that you should be doing. And so I left sports and started to do a news magazine called Inside Edition. And they originally hired me as a West Coast correspondent covering entertainment. So I did the Academy Awards, the BET Awards, the Grammys, the Golden Globes, doing a lot of sit-down interviews with celebrities. And still, I was like, okay, this isn't it. I enjoy reporting. I do enjoy this, and I'm comfortable in front of the camera. And as you can tell, I can talk. But I knew this still isn't it. So on our show, there is an investigative unit on Inside Edition. And at the time, our investigative reporter, Matt Mahar, was getting ready to retire. And I think that they probably thought, okay, we'll replace him with another, male investigative reporter, because most of them are male, because it's a very dangerous job. So I begged my executive producer to let me have a shot at that gig. And he said, you're not going to want to do it. You're on the road all year long. You're in stinky, smelly surveillance vans with a stinky, smelly crew. It's not glamorous. It's very dangerous. And I said, please let me try. Please, please. And so they kind of auditioned me on the air, and the first major story that I covered won a national headliner award, and that was it. They let me take over. So now I'm the chief investigative correspondent for Inside Edition. I chase bad guys for a living. I'm a victim's advocate. This is the job that I really feel like this is where I should be right now.
Wow. There's so many things to ask you right now, but there are so many women who you found success in all of these different areas. I mean, major success, not just like I dabbled a little bit, but like you hit some serious, milestones with acting, with, NFL, like Monday Night Football. Come on. And yet where do you think you got the confidence, or is it that you're crazy to walk away from success to continue to follow that voice?
Look, to be really honest, part of it, and this, I don't want to go dark for too long, but I need to kind of go here to tell you why I feel the way I do. My mother died when she was 29 years old. She had lymphoma. I was 8 years old. She was beautiful and talented, and she never got to explore her career. And you know, she never got to fulfill her potential as a young, talented woman. She was an immigrant from Chile. She learned how to speak English. She came to this country, worked with the Salvation Army, worked with kids and the homeless, and then she was taken too soon. So my entire life, I felt like you have to do as much as you can while you're here, because you never know. And Kim, I know that you know this.
Right.
And people that have suffered enormous loss know this. You can never take tomorrow for granted. So you really have to evaluate where you are every single day and in every job you have and say, is this where I should be right now? I'm not saying that this is where I'm going to be tomorrow, but where I am right now is the right place for me, because my mom didn't get to explore the potential that she may have had. I was blessed into many positions where I've been able to explore different types of businesses and different environments, working environments. And I love having a great challenge, but I feel right now as a 52-year-old woman that it's important for me to be able to help other people. And being an investigative reporter gives me that opportunity, because I really speak to victims and get to really ask tough questions of some really bad guys. You know,
Right,
I chase
right.
scumbags and crooked politicians and criminals, and I hold their feet to the fire. And had I not had this wealth of experience behind me, I probably wouldn't have the confidence that I have today to be able to put a microphone in their face and put myself at risk.
Right.
Because
right.
I feel like, you know, I know this. I got this. I have, you know, I'm not a green reporter anymore. I've been in front of the camera for decades. I'm really, really brave in the type of job that I have. And so I feel like I owe that to our viewers, and I owe that to the victims who have trusted me to tell their stories.
Wow.
So, I don't think I knew that your mom passed away when you were so young. I do know that you have a brother who's adorable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were raised with your single dad. So that's I don't know if you have other siblings, but you know, that was my makeup too, with my dad and my brother raising me. Do you feel like you're like those two, and again, I apologize if you have other siblings, but those two gave you that extra chutzpah, you know, to like be able to walk in and demand to be, you know, a sports reporter? I mean, that was at a time where that was like unheard of, right? That women would be reporting on sports, because women can't do that, you know? So do you feel like there was something that your dad and your brother I'm saying, because my brother and my dad gave me like a little bit of that ballsiness that I think, you know, I've needed. So
Right.
Did you have that?
I did. I mean, I was raised by a dad who is progressive. You know, I consider him the first feminist that I recognized as a feminist. You know, he came from an era from the 60s where he was he was a beatnik, he was a hippie, he marched, he was progressive, he cared about social justice, migrant rights, women's rights, civil rights. So I was raised by kind of a badass hippie feminist dad, and he instilled in me the absolute knowledge that I could do anything I wanted if I worked hard and if I wanted it enough. When I was really little, I wanted to be a quarterback. I didn't realize girls didn't play football. And he taught me how to throw a perfect spiral, and he got me into sports and taught me how to score baseball games up in the stands. And I was convinced when I was little that I was going to be a professional football player, not even realizing girls didn't play football, because my dad never told me that. He's like, well, you know, work hard, learn this. You know, we'll go practice every day and, you know, and keep working at it. Of course, you can do anything you want. So I was raised, and another thing too that I feel like in a way was a blessing, and this again sounds strange, because I didn't have a mother and I had a very progressive father. My dad was constantly telling me things like, don't, you know, worry about taking cooking classes so that you can cook for a man, I don't want you to ever feel like you need to, find a boyfriend or catch a man. You concentrate on your own education and what you want to do and what values and goals you have. Don't worry about guys. Where a lot of my girlfriends' moms were giving very different messages to their daughters. They were saying, here, wear this kind of makeup, boys like that. Dress like this because boys like that. Don't be too aggressive because boys don't like that.
Right.
Yeah. That was my experience too. My dad was I was told, like, don't look at a penis. Penises are bad. So my dad, I don't know if that was helpful.
Still following.
Yeah. That's why I'm still single. But my dad did the same thing to me. He really did. I've talked about this a lot too, that my dad, because I was raised without a mom as well, that, my dad didn't really like impose on me like the beautiful, like the outward, like makeup and, and dressing girly. And I was pretty much a tomboy. I wore my brother's clothes and I was the same way. I was real sporty and stuff. But there came a point where my dad wanted me to appreciate how to take pride in my looks. And so there was that shift at some point where he's like, Kim, can you please brush your hair? And there was, and I remember he was really struggling as a dad to how to teach me how to take pride in the way that I looked, but not in a way that, this is not the right word, but to like sexualize it, or like,
yes.
And I would imagine that's got to be hard for, like, I remember when I needed a bra, like when I got my period, my dad like was a champ, but like he really did this balance between you are just a person having this experience as less of a girl. And like, my dad worked for, I always tell this cute story that my dad worked, a long time ago doing advertising and displays and stuff. And he, one of his clients was fashion fair. Is that right? Was that? Oh my God, I'm totally.
Yeah, is that like a makeup line?
Yeah, but it was for African American. Yeah, right. Okay. So my dad would bring home this makeup from this makeup line, but it was for African American women.
Oh,
and so it's very different makeup, but like that was my dad's attempt, like how to help me be a girl, like bright pinks, bright blues, great.
That
anyway,
is the cutest.
It's a cute story.
My
anyway.
dad had those same challenges, of course. When I got my period, it's like, okay, do I take her to the emergency room? Like, what do I do? He was over, just like what.
My dad cried.
How do I deal with this?
Yeah,
my dad was really emotional about it. And, had to ask a lady from our church to come over and teach me what to do.
Oh.
And, he was just really, he did everything that he could possibly do as a dad. And at the same time, like your dad, he didn't want me to feel like it was about what I look like ever.
Right.
But at the same time, he did recognize that, when you're in high school, you want to be pretty and you want boys to like you. And, you do have to take care of yourself and do have to learn how to, braid your hair and do the things that girls do.
Right.
So, I just really, I can't, I tell my dad this all the time. I just get really weepy about it. What a great dad he was, because he was truly my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
And that's just a wonderful thing. I know you know that.
You both share that experience for sure. But, and Lisa, I was 3 years old when my mom passed away. She was 39. And so
oh my gosh,
I relate to that. And I relate to that, like, you need to live in a way. I try to take chances, and I try to, I think as I approached 39 several years ago, I kind of started feeling like I'm on bonus time. I better make this count, but at the same time, you talk about that, but it couldn't have come without a lot of fear as far as like jumping from one thing to the other. Like, how were you able to kind of look at fear in the face and be able to make these huge leaps in your career and maybe keep the confidence that the next thing would be successful?
Yeah. And I still face that today. And it's a different type of fear, right? I mean, the type of fear you have when you're little, like you're afraid of the dark, you grow out of that and you understand, okay, there's nothing scary in the dark. I'm going to lock my house, get an alarm system. The dark itself is not scary. So you grow out of that fear. And then there are different types of fears that you have to face, fears of, commitments or intimacy as you get older and get into relationships, fears of, being fiscally nervous about being able to pay your bills. fear, and as women, fear of getting older and, losing your youth and, dealing with wrinkles and everything heading south. There are things that we deal with different fears throughout different phases of our lives. And the things that I was scared of when I was younger, I look back at those and I was like, wow, that's crazy that I was even nervous about that because, things that are so stupid. I was nervous in my 20s when I first started traveling about going into restaurants on the road and eating by myself. I was nervous about that. Like, what, people are going to stare at me. They're going to think something's wrong with me that I'm eating by myself. And what
I still feel that way.
Do you? I mean, that's a really common fear that women have, is like eating by yourselves in restaurants. So, now I could go into anywhere. I'm so used to it. I, bring my book or my iPad and or I stare at people or I flirt with the waiter, whatever. Now I'm used to it. So I think, it's not a matter of really overcoming all of your fears at once. It's more like taking the challenge one step at a time and saying, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? Somebody might laugh at me. I might trip and fall. I have made spectacular failures on, very big stages. I've misspoken on national television in front of 40 million people. Right. That's embarrassing, right. But nothing happened. A hole didn't open up in the earth and swallow me alive. I still went on and put one foot in front of the other and got back up on that horse. So the worst possible things that can happen in jobs are, right, you get fired. And I've been fired like almost anybody that's been on TV for years and years. You go through different job changes and you'll get replaced or fired, or your show goes away or it gets canceled and you have to start again. And you do.
Do you feel like the fact that you were able to conquer the sports world at such an early age kind of helped prepare you? Because I would imagine I'm imagining that you endured some sexism and, some
Sure.
ridicule. So do you feel like that, or did you? And then did that help you continue?
Yeah, I did. Early on when I was a sportscaster, when there weren't very many women in the locker room, it was, I'm sure, strange for the guys that I covered. It was strange for me. But, thankfully, I worked with teams and dealt with managers and coaches that were really great. As soon as they recognized that I was there to cover sports because I was a sports fan and not to hook up with players, I think it made it easier for them to respect me. So they were like, okay, she's in and out of the locker room quick. She's just trying to get 2 or 3 sound bites and she's out. And so, after several weeks of kind of seeing what I was about, then they became very comfortable with me. And to this day, I'm still very good friends with a lot of coaches, managers, and players that I covered back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Now, I look back and I definitely did deal with sexism and sexual harassment, but it was mainly by the people at my network that I had to deal with, either executives that expected me to date them or sleep with them, or, vulgar comments from male colleagues.
Right.
So the actual players, surprisingly, were great. They were like my brothers.
That's so interesting because you would think that, there'd be always that one guy who's trying to let's see how uncomfortable she wants to be in this locker room. We'll show her the locker room experience, There
were those guys. There were a couple of guys like that for sure. There was Kevin Brown. There were guys that were crass for sure. Nobody touched me or did anything physical to me, but yes, I was definitely tested by a couple of guys through the years, but not as many as you'd think. And I handled it usually with sarcasm and laughter. That was kind of my weapon of putting them in their place, was making them feel stupid or small, but for doing that to me. I worked with a great photographer early on. One of my first assignments, the Cincinnati Reds were visiting at Dodger Stadium, and I had to go and talk to Tony La Russa, I think it was. So whoever the manager was at the time, I had to go talk to him, and his office was in the back of the locker room. So I had to walk through the visitors' locker room to talk to the manager. And my photographer was with me, and we weren't shooting. His camera was down. And as we got into the locker room, I could hear this catcalling, whistling, start to build, like these, hey baby, like and then whistling. And it got louder as I'm walking through what seemed like a mile-long locker.
Right.
And my photographer just stops, and he grabs me by the elbow, and he's like, watch this. And he puts the camera on his shoulder, and he turned on the light and turned on the camera and just started shooting the entire locker. And that noise stopped like that.
Wow.
Because they saw that the camera was on them, and they did not want to sexually harass somebody or whistle or demean somebody on camera. And my photographer said really loud so that they could all hear, Lisa, that is the power of the media.
Wow.
Wow.
And you could have heard a pin drop, and we continued to walk to Tony Lewis's office, and I didn't hear a peep on the way out.
That's like a movie scene right there.
It was like a movie scene. It was astonishing. But it really did teach me early on that I have the control. I have the power, right? They don't.
So I don't want you to say something uncomfortable because we didn't prep you for this. But like speaking of that, like when you see women now, like the Gretchen Carlson, coming out and talking about her experience at Fox with Roger Ailes, and the women are coming out now and talking about their experiences. Do you feel like at a girl or are? And I don't want you to pigeonhole anybody, but is there a part of you that feels empowered, or like you wish that you did it? Do you feel like you need to? I mean, what do you think when you see women coming out now talking about what they endured, which sounds very similar to what you experienced?
Yeah, one of the biggest differences now, I think, is back then when, and this is also a big difference between like Gretchen Carlson and some of the women at Fox News and what I was doing 25 years ago in sports, was there weren't any other women doing exactly what I was doing in sports. And so had I come forward and had I publicly said, these executives are asking me out, or these, people that I'm working with are crossing the line, I would have never worked again. I would have been blackballed. I wouldn't have been able to have that job in sports for as long as I had those jobs.
Right.
Because there just weren't that many women, and we were already being scrutinized so closely in terms of, do they really have sports knowledge? Are they really writing their own copy? Are they really asking those questions? Are they really articulate about sports? Or are they just a bunch of bimbos holding a microphone that, somebody said, hey, you're hot. Go out there and we'll feed you questions to ask or things to say. So I fought really hard to be able to prove that I belonged there at the time. Yeah. Had I said publicly, I'm being hit on by my bosses, or there are, comments by colleagues that are sexually inappropriate, I know 25 years ago that I would not have had the career that I ended up having. So the difference is Gretchen and some of the women now at Fox News, they have the comfort of knowing, A, they're not the only woman working in news, right? There are thousands of women in the news business throughout the country. So it's not like somebody's going to say to them, you can't have this job because we didn't believe that you actually knew the news when you were covering the news. So they kind of get to separate what they were doing for a living from what happened to them. And so they're given a certain amount of credibility because of their work, what they've done. And, it's really different now. 25 years ago, there wasn't a conversation about workplace sexual harassment. There just wasn't the kind of conversation that there is today. And thankfully, there is that conversation today. And if I was working right now in an environment where I was being harassed, you better believe I would talk about it. And
now it would become one of your stories.
Right.
It would become one of your stories on the air.
It would. Yeah, exactly. And I've covered stories like this. So sometimes I look back and I go, geez, maybe I should have, come forward. But at the same time, I had a big self-preservation thing happening because I was so heavily scrutinized back then. And I don't know if you remember what I was doing at the time. I was the only woman on a show called The Best Damn Sports Show, period. And I was on that show for the first few seasons, and I would be tasked with arguing with athletes about sports every day.
Yeah.
So we'd have 10 or 12 topics, and I would have to hold up my end of the bargain to argue against experts about what they were experts in, which is sports. So it was already really risky for me to do that job. And, it to say that I felt like every single element from what I was wearing, my shoes, my fingernail polish, my hair and makeup, and then every single word that came out of my mouth live in front of a 2-hour studio audience, because that show was live for 2 hours. And that was just a really, really heavy burden for me. And to put on top of that, the fact that I was getting harassed by bosses, that would have been too much, I think, for me at the time to come out publicly and do.
You used a word earlier that is like pretty much the only word I could use to really describe you is brave. Yeah. You know, everything that you've done, whether it's like taking a risk to really, you're like 5 episodes in one, Lisa. And even now, chasing these bad guys and doing what you do, and not just in this emotionally unsafe world, but physically unsafe. You don't know what's going to happen every day that you go into the field to do your work.
And that's part of what's really, for me, what is why it's important for me to do it, right? Because I feel like we live in a place where women are such targets, and we are so vulnerable now, not just physically, but on social media. And Kim, and you and I have gone back and forth on social media. And so we know each other. We know that there are trolls out there, and there are dangerous people that threaten you based on your politics or based on something that, your opinion about something. Mm-hmm. So besides the stories that I tell on TV or the investigations I do, where I do definitely get death threats or rape threats because of those, but even just having any kind of opinion on social media leaves women open to criticism and open to threats. So that in that way, I feel like it's even more incumbent upon me to be very vocal and to not let anything scare me into not having an opinion or not continuing to do my job. I do try to do smart things. I moved to a new house this year, and so the house didn't have a gate and a fence. So the first thing I did was put in a ridiculous alarm system and fence and gate system. And, I'm sure my neighbors didn't appreciate it because on my street there weren't a lot of fences and gates. But I'm like, you know what? I am a woman living alone. I have a dangerous job, and I get death threats. So I do try to be smart about taking care of myself. But at the same time, I can't not do my job, and I want to continue to do my job as aggressively as I can for as long as I can, because I think it's important. Now, not every story I do is dangerous. I do consumer reports that are important. We do a lot of food fraud stories and consumer kind of news you can use stories. So obviously those aren't dangerous. It's not like every day I throw myself inside of a train or something. But I do feel like overall, when I look back every year, I go, okay, there were 4 or 5 really sketchy moments there that if things would have gone another way, I could have been in the hospital or something. But I'm lucky that I work with a crew of people that take care of me and watch my back, and I watch their back, and it's a really great team to work with. But I wish more women would consider getting into investigative journalism, especially now when you look at what's happening with politics and what's happening in the world. I think that women are kind of last best hope for spreading the truth and for really demanding fairness and equality. And that's really what a good investigative reporter can do. And I know so many young women want to be entertainment reporters, or they want the glamour and they want to be wearing the pretty dresses on red carpets. And that's good. And I did that for a minute. But I think there's a lot of women out there that can consider doing something like investigative reporting, because it really truly does make a difference in people's lives. Well,
especially because many women have such great instincts, and I think that they would come in handy. So we only have a minute left, but tell us about this book. Jewelry for your table.
Yeah, isn't that funny? So totally a right turn, but I've always been part of my life, because I have a stressful job, has been art. I've been an artist and a crafter for years and years. And through my art, I have started to collect vintage jewelry, including vintage brooches. So a couple of holidays ago, I had a holiday party and I wanted to do a special table. So I took a bunch of Christmas pins that both of my grandmothers had left me, and I broke the backs and I attached them to metal napkin rings. and I decorated my table with these beautiful Christmas napkin rings. And I put them on Facebook. Everybody wanted to know how to make them. So I did all these different themes. I collected cameos, and then I did Gothic crosses, and I did lockets and nautical themes and medallions. And I put these all online. So I just decided, instead of trying to sell them myself or try to tell people how to do it online, I was going to write a book. So Schiffer Publishing published this gorgeous book called Jewelry for Your Table, and it's a really easy craft, and it connects you to your heritage because you use brooches that are in your family. You shop your own closet first. Yeah. And then I teach you how to shop at thrift stores and flea markets to get these beautiful costume jewelry pieces that you can use both on your holiday tables and dining room tables, but also in candles and in home decor.
That's
so
great.
Use jewelry,
beautiful.
Costume jewelry in your home.
And then the sequel to your book is going to be that if you encounter a bad man while you're at the thrift store, you know how to take him down, right?
Exactly.
While you're shopping.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and people can get the book at lisaguerrero.com.
Yeah, you can get it. The book is at Barnes & Noble. It's online, but you can get the book also signed on my website for the same cost. You might as well go to my website and get it at lisaguerrero.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining
Lisa,
us.
You are amazing. Thank you. And as a victim advocate, thank you for all you're doing. I as someone who's been on the other side of news, I appreciate and I know what you put yourself through. So thank you, because it does make a difference. So I appreciate you.
Oh, that is so kind. Thank you. I appreciate what you guys are doing. Great job on your show. I love it. And please have me back again.
Absolutely.
You guys.
We'd love to. Thanks, Lisa.
Have a great holiday season.
You too. Happy holidays.
Thank
Happy
you.
Holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She's awesome.
Yeah,
and I'm so glad. Yeah.
That's one of those things that, like, when you scratch the surface, I mean, it's funny that she started it by saying she didn't want to go dark, about her mom. And I'm like, God, her mom's like her muse,
right.
And
we go dark all the time. But
the
thing is, I mean, had I ever thought back in like 1997 or 8 or, that this villain, Francesca on Sunset Beach, who I was promoting, would someday be on my radio show.
Yeah.
I love life. I love
but you know what?
twists and turns and curves.
And I think it's important. You can't always read a book judge a book by its cover. And, people look at Lisa and they just see how beautiful she is. But, she's obviously so much deeper.
She is one brave broad.
Yeah. And I love like that. I love that about our show, that we just didn't have her to come on and talk about her book. But like, I love that. But, that there was like meat and
we all have
grit.
a story. And so the fact that we get to find and hear these stories is honestly a dream come true. So thank you, Lisa. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Adios.
You are listening to Broadscast. For more from the Broads, head to broadscast.com.